What's up, everybody? It's Herschel Froome from High School Top 200, and you're listening to the Monday morning meeting podcast, a late edition. I had to do it like this because just getting home after Nelson and Wellington, long drive back. Had to get my house in order before everything else is done because, you know, the house is more important than anything else. Make sure that everything's done here at the house first before... because the dad duties need to be done, all those kind of things. So this is being put out, it would be a little bit later, a day late. So Monday morning meeting, podcasts. I'm Herschel Froome. I run High School Top 200. I'm the only one that does High School Top 200. And I'm a one-man staff apart from my two assistants who are my daughters. And they come to keep me company, pretty much. If you have not subscribed to this YouTube channel, subscribe. Also to comment, like, ask me questions, whatever you want. Look at follow me and look at my socials. I've got my Facebook is High School Top 200. At the real High School Top 200, HS Top 200 on Instagram, and HS Top 200 on TikTok, which I'm still trying to get better at and still trying to do everything at one time, and so I take a little bit longer on all those socials. But anyways, the message is out there, all the information's out there. I try and showcase as much players as I can, and when you want to look at rankings, go into my website on hstop200.com, and it's a $5 subscription. So if you want to get all the information you want on First Team Rugby, subscribe to my website, and it's a $5 subscription. Save one of your coffees for the day, or save one of those steak and cheese pies that I love eating all the time, and subscribe to my website. And the rankings change weekly, fortnightly, with all the different age groups that there are, and the whole purpose of this is to fact check me, and to go check out the talent that we have, and to make sure that we keep celebrating our boys and celebrating the talent and the effort that they put in week to week. I say this every week, but I want to keep this one kind of short. Still haven't organized the house properly yet and got everything back to order after being a week away. But let's go over the quad. First off, I'm so happy Nelson fixed up their fields. It was always just like a mud patch. Whenever I watched the games, it was just like this big mud patch. And 4 games in 2 days, 3 days is a lot, but that field was so good, and it held up so well, and it was just a sunny day, and it was just made for some really, really good rugby, which we did see. Even Whanganui Collegiate, who I thought was kind of a little bit off from the other 3 teams, even they stood up really well too, even with like the injuries that they had early off in their second game that they had against Wellington College. They still stayed up. They stayed up. Like Nico and Noah, Johnny, they all played really, really well. I thought that they really did a lot for their team. Wellington College also was a bit different. Wellington College, having Nelson first up was a surprise. I actually kind of wanted to see what Christ and Wellington College would be like. After seeing those games, I think Christ is better. Christ College is better. I have them ranked high anyway, but from seeing it, I think that they would beat Wellington College. And right now, everyone from Wellington College is going, yeah, but we've got year 11s, blah, blah, blah. Fine, that's okay, but you still have to play. You still have to play. Wellington College is going to be good next year, and they're going to be good the year after. If they keep this team together, if they keep the same structure that they're playing at, because I don't think their structure is wrong. I like the way that they use everybody. Zacchaeus Schwalger, who's the year 11 number 8, obviously highly ranked on my rankings, is still just a young player. He's still year 11. Doesn't matter, how big he is or how fast or strong. It's like he's still year 11. His body still isn't even close to being developed yet as what you would as a rugby player. Like, I see him hitting the gym over the summer, coming back as, dropping, 5 to 7 kgs, put on some muscle, things like that. Even Cassius is the same. Archie is the same. You still have the front row as well that have been doing really good. And then like I said in my in some of my writings, where Harry Law was the first time I ever seen him shut out. But I mean, when you look at a team like Nelson College, yeah, that's kind of what they do. They just shut people out. Play fast, play quick, and then Wellington just couldn't hold up in that first game, and striking them first was just a real sad one. I think it was just a real. They took a beating, to be honest. They did. They took a beating, but it's a good learning experience for those younger Wellington College players that can then come back next year and then go, okay, this is the standard we kind of want to be at, and it's good for them to see what standard they need to play at as well. Like if you've been following, my page, you've heard me say that the Wellington competition is weak, and it is at a very low level right now. As a whole, pretty bad. But when you have teams like Wellington College and also St. Pat's Town, and also Silverstream consistently are a good team, but they need to have Wellington College and St. Pat's Town also be at that higher level, which I'm predicting they should all be within the top 12 in 2 years in the rankings of high school, because they're building these year 11s, and even as right now they're just doing so good as year 11s, so they need to be able to sort of maintain them and build them up into this super confident team that doesn't take a step back from anybody outside of their competition. And I'm always one that says, well, I'm always one that talks about, widening your perspective of how good you actually are. Because I personally don't care how good you are in your competition. Nelson showed that they're good in their competition, they can be good outside of their competition. Nelson also showed by how they played, and I'm hoping that everybody watched them play. I actually think, and the people that I was at the game with, I actually talked to as well, and I actually am confident that they can actually match up well with Tauranga boys and have a chance to beat Tauranga boys as the number 1 team. And how in every sport it's just like you can have a good roster, the best roster, but if you don't match up well with the other team, you could lose even if you've got better people on paper. I feel like Nelson College can match up with Tauranga boys and beat Tauranga boys, who is the standard of rugby right now. I actually think that Nelson College can beat St. Kennigan's as well. I think that St. Kennigan's actually match up better against Nelson College than they do against Tauranga boys. I think Nelson College actually match up a bit better against Tauranga boys than everybody else. After seeing Nelson College and what they can do, moving them to number 2 to me is like not a mistake. I think that they're the second best team in the country right now. But I've said this to one of my mates, is like, the South Island teams lose it on intimidation from the northern teams. There's been teams from the South Island that have been better on paper, had a better year, had a better run throughout, their season, and then it gets to the top 4 and then they just crumble just because they're playing against northern teams. They've got to have that confidence. It's just like, no, we're just gonna tear these fellas up. they pretty much have to take that confidence that Southland boys played with last year and just go, yeah, we're going to run with that. There's going to be there has to be a time where the Southern teams have to sort of step up. And it's hard to hear for a lot of you Southern guys that are listening to this, but you can't really argue. You can't. And I don't care how many times, Southern teams are going to say, well, look at the New Zealand secondary schools and look how many players we get in. It's like, yeah, but I'm talking about teams. You're talking about individuals. Individuals can make it from, look at Cameron Christie from a few years ago. He came over Rotorua. They were a terrible team. He was a superstar. So, but as a team, the Southern team hasn't won it since Christchurch boys. When Christchurch boys went on a three-year run of winning national championships. A Southern team hadn't made it to the finals since 2012 when Otago went up to St. Kennigan's and just got run over. But Otago had so many rep players in that year. I remember that one. Who was one of the guys? Aleki Morris. I remember that fella's name. For Otago boys, he was the second five, and he was the man. But then the team as a whole just didn't do anything. They just couldn't. And it wasn't that they weren't better. It was the fact that I think they got intimidated from the start. Southern teams to me just have to get over that. I don't understand that mentality. But Nelson College to me is the team that can do that. I don't even know what the order is actually of how the top four is going to go this year. I don't know if the Blues is playing the South and then the Hurricanes are playing the Chiefs, or the Chiefs are playing the South, or I don't know what that is. But whoever Nelson College come up against, they've just got to be Nelson College. Because I'm actually pretty confident that Nelson College is going to get to that top four. Because if you think about it, let's take this past week, right? Otago boys losing to John McGlashan is a big surprise, and I'm going to watch the game too. I've got the game, so I'm going to watch that one. I looked at the roster; they had a full roster. I looked at the John McGlashan team; they had a full roster. Nothing about injuries or anything like that. When I watched the game, they played at John McGlashan, but that's not really a big, it's not really a big deal. It's a big deal when you go from Southland boys to Otago boys, or Southland boys to King's High School, or John McGlashan down to Southland boys, because you're changing, your area. But if you're within the same area, it doesn't really matter that much. But that upset told me about both teams. John McGlashan shouldn't even be close to what Otago boys is right now. I feel like Otago boys just showed that on a bad day they could lose to a team that's a few years lower, a few levels lower than them. John McGlashan showed that they played their one big game, and those young boys that are on that team, because they're not an old team, they're pretty young. Those young boys on that team know exactly how they can actually play and how good they can actually be, building on this year and then going into next year, which is going to be pretty cool. It's going to be pretty interesting to see how they do that. King's High School is kind of the same, with a young team with young superstars that they need their year 11s and year 12s that they have to recognize the position that they're in and to find a direction that they all want to go and build towards that. Because King's High School should be a really, really good team for the next 2 years. They've had really good teams back in the past, and they've just got to recreate what they've already done. Southland boys, who right now is the best team in that competition, should actually learn from this too, and next time they play John McGlashan is not even take them lightly at all. And in all honesty, once you start scoring, just keep going. Do not relax at all. Do not relax on a team like John McGlashan. And if I was you, I'd take like a bully mentality and just keep hammering them. Just run up the score as much as you can. Because you don't want that game to turn around on you, and McGlashan looks like that team that could probably do that to you. That was one upset that happened this week. The other one that was obviously really surprising too was the Rosmini one. Now Rosmini at the beginning of this season, for the first two games, the opening one against Whangarei Boys, and then they had Westlake Boys second, and they lost both of those games. After those two games, they've won 4 straight, and then now I think this one that they won on Saturday against Westlake Boys is 5 straight. But Westlake Boys have some injury problems, and what they've done is, because they have a really strong loose forward trio, even someone coming off the bench, they've moved Travis from number 8 to second 5. Now, next year Travis is going to be one of the best number 8s in the country. I understand that. I understand his athleticism. I understand his ability to have solid defense, all that kind of stuff. Run the ball, all that, whatever. But he is still a number 8. And he's shown how good he is at number 8. You got Solomon there too, Solomon there as well. And Arlo is the other one. And I think those three need to stay at loose forward. I don't understand, and I haven't seen the game yet. I'm waiting for it to get sent to me, but I don't understand why you wouldn't just move JD into second 5. I don't understand why you need to leave JD out on the wing if you have injuries. I don't mind if he's out on the wing, because you've like Jarlin would be there at second 5, and I don't mind, or I would understand if you had a full team and JD was out on the wing. But if you're lacking midfielders, and arguably your best player on the team, JD, is stuck on the wing, from a standpoint of your best players getting the touches that you want, why wouldn't JD get like 70% of the touches being at like second 5 when you have a weak midfield or an injured midfield? Why would you leave him in the percentage of not being able to touch the ball as much as you would like him to on the wing, and just bring him in when you have injury problems? To me, JD moving from winger to second 5, he's still one of the best players in the country, moving positions as well. It's not like you've moved him from the wing to second, or to like open side flanker, where he can't be effective. At second 5, he would still be effective. And at second 5, from a Rosmini point of view, when they run on the field or when they see the team list, they're going to go, oh, holy crap, JD's moved to second 5. We've got to actually figure out how to do this now. But if you've tucked JD out on the wing, in my mind, in my opinion, you know that you can gear up for whenever he touches the ball. But if you have to gear up all the time for him to touch the ball all the time, running at second 5, that to me causes a lot of problem and stress on them almost every second ruck, is how I would see it. But when you have your best ball runner, probably your most physical player in the back line out on the wing, even when there's injuries out on the wing, I personally don't understand it. Obviously the coaches know their players better, but we know from the fact that they almost lost the week before to Rangitoto, and then also them losing this week to Rosmini, that there is something wrong with that. As good as Travis is, and as good as he, and as as his potential to be in New Zealand secondary school loose forward next year, maybe he's just not cutting it at second five because you're pulling him out of position and you're asking him to play a different position that he's frankly, to be honest, not good at, because it's not his position. It's not naturally his better position. Yes, he can play it. He can put on the jersey, but is it going to be that effective? And are you actually taking away his efficiency from being in the number 8 jersey and how that values the team? Yes, Alex is not there either, and he hasn't been here. I think was it Tauranga game that he got injured, or the game before, Whangarei or something like that. But that to me still does not solve the fact that they need a second five. They need a physical presence, and JD not being at second five and still stuck on the wing is a problem. Yeah, and even Blake is back too. Blake is back. They don't have the year 11 kid. So Levi, his name is. They don't have him at first five. It was Blake. So I don't know. To me, it was just like it kind of felt like that game was coming, and I actually didn't expect Westlake to lose in their competition, but Rosmini did a massive job. To take that one, and I've seen like heaps of like little snippets of the game, but I want to see the game, so hopefully someone sends it to me. That was another upset. So Otago losing a massive upset, Rosmini, Westlake losing to Rosmini, another upset. The other one, the upset that I thought was interesting was Hastings over Rotorua boys, and my thing is that Hastings have a injury problem in the front row, with JJ not there, with Israel not there, and Israel's been out for a while. JJ's been out for 2 games now because he missed out the Gisborne boys one as well. Has really taken away that go forward ball in that forwards pack in terms of carrying the ball and then getting out into open space. Israel and JJ usually were those guys that made those breaks, bed that defensive line back, got them going forward, all that kind of stuff. Now, Remembrance Tohu is actually, I think has found himself again as a player. The player that I saw him as a year 11 and year 12, and he's found it back again. And the way he's been playing has been so good, and he's held what that front row could be together. And on Saturday, it just didn't hold up as much as you would like it. Elijah Talalupe, I think, Talalupe he's in there. He's another guy that returned from last year. And Lachlan, Lachlan Verco, I think his name. Yeah, Lachlan Verco is the other one that's there as a prop too. Young dude, real mobile and stuff like that, but it's just not the same as what JJ and Israel can give. This game was going to come. Everybody else has been playing really well. I've loved the way Travis been playing. Tana's been playing great. All those young boys, Reed and that, Panapa, everyone's been playing really good. Even like Mike Anderson as well. But they just need that front row to be better. Rotorua have been trying to get themselves back, and beating a team like Hastings, to me, should be their turning point, and hopefully their turning point. Even if they lose a game, as long as they keep it competitive and strong and keep it tight, that they can actually get through their sets and actually run their structures. Even if the structure doesn't quite do what it's supposed to, as long as everybody's in the right place and playing on the right plan, then I think they'll be fine. Because remember, they're still another young team. This is another young team that I mentioned as well, which is teams to me who are going to be good in the next 2 years. The same thing as St. Pat's Town, the same thing as Wellington College, the same thing as John McGlashan, and also Rotorua boys. So all of these upsets are the ones that you kind of see not really happening, but it is kind of a good thing that some of these upsets have happened. You know, it's really put a lot of teams on watch, because, I mean, like, look at the 1A, right? Mags beating St. Peter's, which is a game I hope someone sends me to. St. Peter's still had the same, you know, their roster was still the same. You know, one or two boys out of that starting, but nothing drastic. But I saw St. Peter's as a far better team of what Mags was, or Mags is. And them dropping that game to Mags lets the other further teams know that the top four in the 1A is not safe. Like, you're not safe just because you're up there. Even St. Kennigan's, who's the top team, they're still not safe. They're capable of being beaten. Mags, who's sitting at like 9 or 8 or 9 or something like that, beating a number 4 ranked team. Dilworth, who was sitting like 11th, beating the Auckland Grammar, who's a 2nd ranked team in the 1A. Kelston having these runs of some bad losses. So, like, if Auckland Grammar can beat Kelston and Dilworth can beat Auckland Grammar, Dilworth has shown that they have a shot at beating almost anybody in that competition. They should have that confidence now. And they only just lost to De La Salle on Saturday by like 2 points. And De La Salle is sitting 5th on the table for the 1A. So it should give you that confidence. It's like, okay, Dilworth must be a team. Those that have beaten Dilworth, like I think Liston beat Dilworth, St. Paul's beat Dilworth in their first game, they should also take their confidence, like, well, if Dilworth can beat Auckland Grammar, there's no reason why we can't do the same thing. Auckland Grammar also has to sit back and go, shoot, if we lost to these fellas, we've really got to pick up our game and play 100% in everything we play. Even to these like weaker teams, you know, they just can't have that attitude of like, yeah, but we're Auckland Grammar. We don't lose to Dilworth. St. Kennigan's did a few years ago too. And yeah, it shows the strength of Auckland teams, but it also shows that, you know, sometimes complacency gets you to a point where you don't want to be at, and sometimes complacency gets you to a point where you can't go back. Auckland Grammar's got to be careful that they don't sit in their sit within their superstars and go, yeah, but we've got these guys. Like, how do we lose when we've got these guys? You know, like Charlie's one of the best props in the country. How do we lose with him? How do we lose with Finn there? How do we lose with, you know, Rios there? Why have we got Nico? It's like, how do we still lose with Nico's there? Boston's here too. You know, we've got all these guys. It's like, how do we lose to a team like Dilworth? But it can happen to anybody when you're in the 1A. St. Peter's losing to Mags too. St. Peter's like, man, Louis and Az in that backline, dangerous backline. Jarvis at number 8, dangerous. One of the best ball runners out there. What's his name? Matt. At halfback, only year 12. Next year he's going to be a sharp halfback. So good, such a good player. But it shows that you can still lose. It shows that you can't just sit on what superstars you have. Kind of the same thing with Otago. You just can't sit on that. Just because you got a guy at lock who is right there with like New Zealand secondary schools potential, is just like, yeah, we can't just sit on that. Because we don't win a game with, you know, 4 guys. We got 22 men on our roster. We got 30 guys in our squad. We all have to play good. We all have to be there for each other to make sure that we push out our best. And so this week's been really interesting in terms of rankings too, and showing what, some of these inter-region games have been like for rankings and showing where guys like sit in the country and showing where a region's competition is in the country, like the CNIs, even as somewhat disappointing. I think the CNI has been this year. I would still rather be in the CNI than I would rather be in the Wellington competition. The Super 8 has shown that this year is just not an easy year for anybody. People look at like New Plymouth boys and Gisborne boys and they go, those guys never win any games. It's like, you try being in that competition with that kind of travel and see if you can win one game. See if you can win one game. See how hard it is for you to stop a losing streak when you have to play Tauranga boys, Rotorua boys, Hamilton boys, Hastings, then Napier, then Palmy, and then you've got New Plymouth and Gisborne as well. And there's no real like, I'd rather start off with these guys and then it's like, there's nothing, like, you can't, like, even if you had like Gisborne and New Plymouth who are like the weaker teams in that competition, you might come out with 2 losses if you were in that competition. And just because their record shows that they've only won one game or they don't win a game, Super 8 is too hard. Too hard with all that travel as well. It's not an easy competition to be in. It really is like an elite one. I would like to see some of these other boys' schools jump into that too. Like, I would like to see Auckland Grammar jump into that. I would like to see Westlake boys jump into that. I would like to see Wellington College jump into that, or Silverstream jump into that. Just so that some of these teams know, it's like, oh shoot, we have to travel this far to Gisborne? It's like, man, Hamilton's a long way from this place. And it's just like, and then we have to play Hastings after this, like next week? It's like, yeah. Then we've got like a shortened week, and then you kind of have to play, Tauranga, the day after that, or like the week after that, and then we have another end game after that, but you have to go down to Palmy and play that game. It's like, that's so much travel with such hard games that you have to go back to back sometimes with these hard games. Everything is just too difficult. Whereas in Auckland is different. You get to have your rest. You get to be comfortable. You get to sleep in your bed. You get to, you get to have all your fans there. Things like that. It's different. It's different. I want to talk about because there is such a thing as a year 12 slump. All these year 11 players that you see, and I'm talking to year 11s right now. All your year 11s right now playing first 15. There's a fear of next year having a slump, meaning that right now you guys are playing with low expectations of how this is supposed to be. You're not playing with an expectation of how good you're supposed to be, and when you get out on the field as a year 11 for the first time, no one expects you to do anything. Even when you come from the under 15s and you're a superstar there and all that kind of stuff, you're not really expected to do that much because you've got year 13s and year 12s in front of you. So you get to just play your natural game. You just get to play off feeling. You just get to experience everything new for the first time, and you just don't know. So you just play. Now what happens is that a lot of these year 11s have really good years. They look at my rankings, they go, man, I'm doing really good. It's like, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff is cool. Now for your second, the second part of this is that when you go into your year 12 year, the most important thing about your year 12 year is that in the summer, you try and change your body a little bit to adapt to your year 12 year. You try and watch as much rugby as you can. Like all these ones that you see on TV, like no one's got excuses now. Back in the days, you used to have excuses. I don't have Sky. We don't have the money. It's like, okay, but you got YouTube. There's plenty of rugby games on there. I'm not talking about just watching your rugby games. I'm talking about just watching rugby in general. And study a little bit and watch a little bit of what other players do in your position. And then try it. Try and get a little bit more of an edge so that when you come into year 12, you have a little bit more knowledge. Your body's a bit different. Your fitness is a lot better, or should be better than what it was last year, where you had no expectation. You go, yeah, okay, I knew that by the 50th minute I was actually pretty tired and sort of flipping, freaking sucking for air, and I just didn't know how to push past that. As a year 12, you got to go, okay, I've got to push I've got to push my fitness from here, and I've got to get it from 50 to playing 60 full speed. If I can play 60 minutes at like 90% the whole time, then I'm good. But you have to be able to increase yourself from what you did as a year 11, and you can't dive on the you can't ride on the fact that it's like, yeah, I did great in year 11, I was ranked really high, blah blah blah. It's like, cool, but now you're going into year 12 and there's expectations now, and it's not just expectation just from you, but your teammates, the newer boys in the team that come through behind you, the other year 11s. Your coaches are looking at you for different roles and different responsibilities, all these kind of things as well. So like when you start that year 12 year, if you had a really good off season and a really good summer and Christmas, going, yep, I ate a little bit of my Christmas, I ate a little bit of my New Year's, I got to get back on my training that I started just after sevens, and then I got to work my way through. Make sure I have all this rest. Make sure you have rest. Have rest. Please. Turn your guys' phones off at night. Have some rest. Every professional is going to tell you rest is the most important thing. And the more that you put in the off season and prepare yourself, you won't have this year 12 slump. Some of you guys right now who are in year 12 that started in year 11s, you're having slumps. I can see it. Your coaches can see it. Some of the parents can see it. And right now, if you're listening to me talk, you're year 12, you don't think you're having the year that you thought you were going to have, and then if you don't think you're having a better year than what you did last year, you're not the only one thinking it. So right now, well, after you listen to this podcast, go back and just reevaluate for the second half of your season and go, okay, this is what I want to work on now. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to kind of change so I can finish off my year good, so I can go to year 13. Now, I'm not saying that slump is just a year 12 thing, but it can be carried into year 13. It can actually put you down a bit. There's guys right now who played better in year 11 than they are actually playing in year 13. Which says a lot. Because when I think of rankings, I go, fine, that guy's good for year 11. But if he's still playing the same that he was at year 11 at year 13, I think, oh, he hasn't learned something. He hasn't learned anything for 2 years. Or he can't start anymore. Which is the other one. If you think it's your school and you think rugby is going to be your career, maybe you should change school. Everyone's going to hate that I'm saying that because it's like, education for education, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but rugby careers is a rugby career. I'm not saying don't do education. I'm just saying for your rugby career, which is sometimes only a year long because you get injuries and you get, politics and within rugby show up. But if you want to have a chance at that as that being your career, then do what you can. Education's always going to be there. But you have a time clock expiry date on your body. Not on education. The other thing I want to talk about was like because I was thinking the other day, right? And from questions that I have from boys and from parents and grandparents and all that kind of stuff, and they talk about my rankings and that, and they go, well, you know, I'm starting as year 11. That guy doesn't start on this team. You know, I'm starting at this, he hasn't started this. Like, I'm playing reps at this, he's not playing reps at this. Like, okay. I was like, that's fine. But let's say that you're the halfback in your team. And you're a year 12, and there's another guy who's year 12, and he comes off the bench for his team. Now, are you starting because you're better than the other guy that doesn't start on his team because he's year 12 and you're year 12, but on your team you start and on his team he doesn't, he's behind somebody else? Especially if it's a senior, it's like, who are you really battling in your school to get that starting spot? That's kind of the other question. If that guy on the other team was starting under someone who was in a lower grade, like if a year 11 was starting in front of year 12, that to me I would think about. But it depends how good that year 11 is and how good that year 12 is, because that year 12 could move schools and start on a different school straight away as well. Just that fact that in that area or where they go to school, they have 2 really good year 12s. Or they have 2 really good halfbacks. You're the only good halfback in your area. Just by zone, it seemed like you were the one that went to that school and there was no other good halfbacks, just yourself. Now, when it comes to rankings, I don't look at it that way at all. I look at what you do on the field and the time that you get on the field. What you do in that time that you get on the field is what I judge your game off. Is what I judge you as a player off. I don't care if you start or if you start or if you don't start. That's besides the point sometimes. There's been times where 2 hookers make it into the under 18s, like rep teams, and they're both from the same school. Like right now, Rotorua boys have that problem. They have 2 guys with Bronson and Rounds that both of them can start in their team, and if they were in other teams, they'll probably be starting. It just so happens that when they're in Rotorua, it's like they're both from Rotorua. Well, Bronson's from Motors, but like he goes to Rotorua. That's not like a setup. They didn't set that up. Just how it happened. Just where they went to school. They just both happen to be that good. And the rankings, it doesn't matter at all. I judge what you do on the field. I judge what you do with your time. I judge how you manage your time and how good you are when it comes to those moments where you're supposed to stand out. Do you stand out? What you do with the ball in that time. How you are around your teammates. All those kind of things. That's why I love coming to games. Is that I like to listen to what everyone says, how people react, things like that. Like I've seen guys score tries for their team and no one celebrate with that dude. I've seen that a few times. That guy gets us runaway scores. No one even wants to shake his hand. To me, that's a big problem. Because there's something that guy's probably done that the rest of the team are like, cool, bro. Cool, you scored, bro. Thanks for the points. So for me, it's just like, when I start ranking these players, I don't rank based on if you start or not. I start looking at what your role is, how you complete, what you do to complete your role. If what you're doing flows with everything else. Because like if you watch on the field, that there's guys that you can see that are kind of lost or out of place, or sometimes you'll see a part or a set go, and then the way that the shape of your attack goes, you know that there's something missing. You go, oh, I think that guy was supposed to be there. And if you go and push the tape back, like sometimes because I've got the tape, you can see guys yelling at fellas telling him to come here, but because the ball already came, that guy's in 2 minds because he doesn't know where he needs to be, and so he'll pick the wrong one. Because he'll just think, oh, I'm posted here, I'll just stay here. It's like, no, you should just drop back. Trust that these guys have got it. Get back to the shape of your attack, and then continue on from there. Those kind of things is what I judge. And in all honesty, I don't care what breaks you do. I don't care how many line breaks you get or how many tries you get. Because There's been All Blacks that haven't scored tries and they've played like 60 tests for the All Blacks. Because that's not what makes them good. Scoring tries and breaking lines and breaking tackles is not what makes them good. It's their core role in what they're playing. That's why, like, a lot of parents that I talk to is just like, oh, my son scored 4 tries already this year. I was like, cool. I hope you celebrated that with him. But that might not be what he's supposed to be doing. Like, if he's left his shape of attack to hunt the ball to get tries, cool. That one time he scored a try, cool, that's great. But then how many other sets did he miss because he was hunting for the ball and not taking care of his role in the team? You're talking about one moment of him, and let's take that one moment of him scoring a try. Let's say he breaks the line, gets the ball, breaks the line, runs 20 meters and scores a try. Okay, that's like 7 seconds. So what about the other of that 35 minutes of that game? Like, where was he? Was he still hunting around for that ball so he can make some runs just to look good, or was he trying to play with his teammates in the shape of the offense that he was supposed to be in, and the line of the defense, instead of running up and trying to do big hits and stuff like that? It's like heaps of those things. It doesn't matter to me what highlight clips that you make of your sons. It's like, I'm looking at it from a team perspective. How well do they work in their team? I don't care if you start. I care about what you do when you get on the field. I care about the guys that put their selves on the line for the team. The hard-working guys, that's the ones that I like looking at. Coaches look at that too. Coaches don't really care about talent a lot. They care if you get up and play the next ruck. They care if you just hit someone's guy's hand away, not react to them pushing you, and you just getting it to the next ruck, making that next tackle. That's what coaches and selectors and stuff look for. Because no one wants to BS on the field around like having a fight, like grabbing someone's collar and standing there while the play's still going on. It's like, they don't care about that stuff. And neither should you, to be honest. I mean, if you want to do MMA, jump in the ring. Go do boxing. Go do Muay Thai or something. If you're that much of a tough guy and you just want to fight, you're picking the wrong sport with rugby. Make a good hit. Take your lumps when you get smashed. Go to the next ruck. Set the scrum. You're in the line out. Go back to fullback. All that kind of stuff. So, parents that are worried about that kind of stuff is just like, yeah, it's not just one thing that I look for. Not at all. And then this is not just for year 11s or year 12s. This is for everybody. Like, people was like, well, how many line breaks does he? It's like, it's not his role to be a line breaker. Just because you're a highly ranked player doesn't mean that you have to have all these highlights. If he's the guy cleaning out every single ruck and you've provided fast ball for your team, it's like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, look at what Tauranga boys do. They're forward players. Their forwards are grinders. They just grind out the whole game. They're not even that flash. The backs are flash. The forwards are not. But I'm going to take that forward pack who is not flash, that gets the ball quick so that Charlie can get that ball out. Aaron and those guys, and Kelly and what's his name, driver fella. Oh my gosh, I'm just spacing on his name. Oh, Judah. Even what's his name, big muscly fella, winger centre, Roy, I think his name is. Like, those guys are the flash guys. But the game plan is built for those guys to be flash. Mason does the work so that they can be flash. Charlie gets the ball out so they can be flash. 4 front rowers, they do the work so that everybody else can be flash. They don't look flash themselves. But you notice coaches are going to go, oh, I need that guy, because I need that guy to do what he's doing here to do it on my team. I don't need him to bump off 2 guys on the way to a try when everybody else is like, wait, hold on, this is not what we're supposed to be doing. It's like, cool, we got the try, but we can't do that all the time, man. Because at some point you're going to mess up our flow, and you're going to mess up everybody's timing, that we're going to start losing this game, which we don't need. So, anyways, like I said, I wanted this to be fast, and I talked another hour. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, guys. Anyways, sorry for the late pod, but yeah, love yous all. Later, ball.